And I think it's important that we do everything we possibly can to help give our teachers more expertise in science. So I actually do support the STEM funds, particularly in a more global economy as we compete against countries like China and India and other countries where they graduate more engineering students. We happen to be very fortunate here because we've got one of the very top schools in the United States, and I know that most of the students are sought after for jobs afterwards. There are plenty of places within the Department of Education budget, because if you increase one thing in the Department of Education, you have to cut. And quite frankly, I'm almost to the point where Larry is, that probably 3/4 of the Education Department could be eliminated. But this is something that's an investment for the future and absolutely critical.
The first response to the next question will come from Mr. Sowers. What is your position on border control, and do you support a comprehensive overhaul?
When we look at immigration and we look that we are a nation of immigrants, we realize that we have a problem, and Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, get an F for addressing this problem. The first thing that you have to do is secure the border. If you pass an amnesty like what was passed under Reagan without addressing the border security, we'll be right back to where we are right now 20 years from now. And you can't tell me we can't do it. We put a man on the moon 50 years ago, and I think we can secure a border today. The problem is that our security resources are all tied up halfway around the world, securing other areas. The second thing that we have to do is do workplace enforcement with teeth. In the last couple of years, a couple million illegal immigrants went home, and they went home on their own accord. And the reason is that they couldn't find work because of the economy. If we do workplace enforcement with teeth, the thing I like about that is that we're not creating a massive new federal bureaucracy that can kick down neighbors' doors or anything like that, but we're using the market conditions in order to address this problem. But members of Congress have had their chance. They've had years to address this issue, and they just simply haven't gotten it done.
Mr. Van Dieven.
Immigration is one of those hot-button political issues that Congress just does not seem to want to fix. Let me be clear. I believe in the free movement of peaceful people across borders. A large part of our immigration problem, especially along the southern border, can be attributed to some other government scheme that has failed, such as the war on drugs and the creation of the welfare state. Can you imagine how expensive and impractical it would be to locate, detain, and deport 12 to 20 million people that don't want to be found? We can increase raids on employers. That's another cry I hear. I understand this. There's a lot of uncertainty out there right now, but the cry that immigrants take away jobs is a fallacy. The amount of jobs in a country at any given time is not constant. What we need to do is create an immigration policy that reflects our dynamic society, a dynamic society that demands immigrant labor, especially unskilled immigrant labor. And I support issuing additional work visas to those participating in the underground economy. Our immigration laws should be constructed to consider our long-term economic goals. Thank you.
Ms. Emerson.
This is such a complicated issue, and one that is very complicated and difficult, it seems, because you have people on one side or the other. I have always supported very strong border security, and quite frankly, the money that has been increased in the budget for it has been quite significant over the last many years. You're using a combination of National Guard now, border security, high-tech that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, you have one faction in Congress who wants to actually take agriculture and use that to create an amnesty program for those people who are here illegally. If we would just enforce the laws, we have laws on the book that says it is illegal to enter this country and work And yet the government turns its cheek, this administration, and the Bush administration was equally bad. They turn their cheek and try to ignore the problem. We have a policy that basically says catch and release like fish. That's not going to work because basically people hide. And the Obama administration has also now changed the regulations so that anybody who is caught, in fact, unless they're a terrorist, you got to keep them here. We have lots of illegals working today, taking good American working class jobs, and it's got to stop.
Thank you. Mr. Bill.
I think that border enforcement is critical. We shouldn't have drug gangs in our federal territory as there are now in Arizona. And so if we could seal the border and stop illegals from coming in, primarily from Mexico, I think that'd be a good thing. But we also have to have a reasonable approach to who's left here, the 12 to 20 million. And I would like for all the illegal, or not illegals, but for the criminal element to be sent back home once they've served their term. But I think what we're going to have to do is, because of this physical impossibility of putting everybody on an airplane and taking them to Mexico City or back to Pakistan or whatever, we're going to have to say, look, if you'll come out of the woodwork, we will recognize that you're a criminal. We'll assess you with a fine. We'll put you on an actual payroll where you're paying Social Security and Medicare taxes, and then we want you to work towards becoming United States citizens. And to not have a realistic approach to immigration like this, to just say we'll send them all back, is unrealistic. And so those are the two things that I'd be working for, border control, and then actually integrating the illegals into our society as we're able. But they're still illegal. They're still not supposed to be here. So workforce enforcement is critical as well. Thank you.
The first response to the next question will come from Mr. Van Dieven. This has two parts. What do you think would be a good plan to lower the unemployment rate and increase GDP?
Well, I believe that the largest single contributor to our floundering economy is the out-of-control government spending. I don't think the government is capable of creating jobs or a robust economy. We don't really have the time right now to nickel and dime the federal deficit to create jobs or to stimulate the economy. I think it's going to take big ideas to get this economy back on track, and that's where I can kind of stick out and make myself different from everybody else, because that's just the way I am. But the federal budget is really, 1/3 of it is dedicated to entitlement spending, 1/3 of it is dedicated to military, and 1/3 of it's dedicated to everything else, just to simplify matters. And I think that military spending and entitlement spending are probably the two areas that we need to focus on. I would be in favor, and I've already stated this, that I support an immediate withdrawal from the occupations in Iraq and Afghanistan. This would probably, no, it's not probably, but it would stimulate the economy to the tune of $200 billion a year instantly. I also support closing the military bases that are located overseas, especially in the wealthy nations like Germany and South Korea and Japan. I mean, the World War II has been over for 50 years, folks, and the Cold War has been over for almost 20. So, I mean, those are areas that we can definitely make good budget cuts. And I also support reducing some of these entitlements, especially the largest entitlement, which is Social Security. It's unsustainable, and it's not going to be around for future generations. Thank you.
Ms. Emerson.
I'm going to answer both questions together. What we need, you all, are pro-growth policies in this country. Number one, we have to simplify our tax structure, make it flatter, make it more conducive to companies and employers who actually want to grow jobs. I believe we've got to lower the corporate tax rate to be equivalent to what our major trading partners are doing. And as a matter of fact, Canada is lowering theirs from now up to about 15.5. They've already had 6.5% growth this year. We need to lower capital gains and dividend taxes as well. We need to flatten the personal income tax because it's too cumbersome and certainly too complicated. We need to cut spending. We need to cut spending, quite frankly, back to 2008 levels because, as I mentioned earlier, since 2006 when the Liberals took over the Congress, spending has skyrocketed. In the last 2 years, spending has increased by 21%. It's unacceptable, and quite frankly, it cannot last. We need to get rid of burdensome regulations that punish companies who want to keep jobs here. We have the highest corporate tax structure next to Japan, and we have the most burdensome regulations of any country anywhere in the world. And this is what's keeping companies from growing. And then we have the uncertainty of health care and cap and trade and all sorts of policies that strangle growth and job creation.
Thank you. Mr. Bill.
I think the federal government has proved itself as the biggest impediment for increasing employment. And one of them is the health care bill that was passed. They didn't know what was in it. I don't even think the Republicans read it. And so they didn't know what was in it. We don't know what was in it. Whenever we talked about having extending the Bush tax cuts, again, uncertainty, nothing coming out of Washington. We don't know what's coming. Cap and taxes or cap and trade is threatening also, either through the EPA or legislation, and OSHA regulations, all kinds of interference from the federal government. And I think it's because we overexpanded the federal government, and now they don't have enough to do. So they're going out and looking for things that they could be actually getting involved in. So if we could eliminate essentially that interference, if we could stabilize the rules of business at least for 2 or 3 years and say, listen, we don't need these, we don't need to increase, you don't need to get certified to remove a lead-based paint window anymore. We're going to eliminate that regulation. All these other regulations that come into play and impede hiring, then that, I think, will help our business environment because there's about $2 trillion sitting in banks right now, and businessmen are unable to make decisions because they don't know what the rules of the game are. It's just like practicing for a basketball game with 5 players, and when you show up at the game, oh, you can have 7 or you can only play with 4. And that uncertainty is just the way it is in our current economy and is caused by the federal government. Thank you.
Mr. Sowers.
Well, very simply, we need to stop these bailouts. Now, when you look at something as abstract as the Wall Street bailout, $780 billion to Wall Street, you wonder how does that punish unemployment? How does that influence our GDP? And all you have to do is look at Pine Street. Catty corner to each other are Phelps County Bank, where I bank, and Bank of America. Phelps County Bank doesn't run a hedge fund, doesn't do mortgage-backed securities, doesn't pay its executives hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a community bank that is vital when people want to open up a small business here. Had nothing to do with the Wall Street bailout. Catty corner to that, Bank of America, had all those problems with it. The problem is that last year, Phelps County Bank paid 20 times the amount of FDIC fees that it did the year prior to that. It went from about $50,000 to $1.4 million. When you cut into a small community bank's profit margin that much, that means they have to be tighter on their lending standards. That means that if you go there and try to do business with a handshake that's so critical for small town businesses based off of trust and reputation, now they have fewer funds to give out. Because they and we in small America, small town America, are getting punished for things like the Wall Street bailout. It's why I think we need to stop these bailouts. Thank you.
The first response to the next question will come from Ms. Emerson. Do you think the No Child Left Behind Act has had a positive effect on K through 12 education? And the second part, and how would you improve the current system?